Yo, what is going on, you guys? It's your boy King Sanders here, and we are back with another day of sports betting. This is going to be for Thursday, August 11th slate of MLB action. I'm super excited to dive into it. We do have a pretty good slate once again as of today. It's a little bit of a smaller slate, but I do think we have some pretty good matchups, some pretty good spots to target as well, and we'll go ahead and dive into that. But before we did, I did just want to go ahead and say that we are still currently on the road to 7,000 subscribers. So if you guys are new, make sure that you guys do like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. Next, I did just want to go ahead and give a quick shout out here to all of our members here on the channel. Thank you guys so much for everything that you guys do. And thank you guys so much for giving such a small channel such a big chance, as I always say. It truly does mean the absolute world to me. So thank you guys way more than you guys will ever know. It truly does mean absolutely so much to me. So thank you guys so much for that. But one last thing is I did just want to go ahead and say thank you guys so much for all the support here recently. We've been gaining a ton of subs, even though we haven't had necessarily the greatest past couple days, but I do think we bounced back today. I really love today's slate. I really love the plays that we have, so I'm really excited to dive into it. And I guess I'll just quit rambling on, but I just wanted to say thank you guys. Truly, it does mean, it does mean a lot to me. We have had a little bit of a cold spell here for the MLB season, so hopefully we can bounce back and start gaining those subs here pretty quickly. So if you guys are new, make sure that you guys are subbed. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and do a quick recap from yesterday. We ended up going 1-1. I really hate only making 2 plays, but I just couldn't find anything that I truly really loved from yesterday's slate. But we ended up going 1-1, and I can pretty confidently say that one of the plays was a very bad beat, and we'll talk about it. I need to start only doing 3 plays, so that way I either have a winning day or I have a losing day, no in between. But because whenever you go 1-1, you pretty much just lose a little bit of money, and it's just kind of a bleh day. So it is what it is. But we did end up having the Giants plus a half in the first 5 versus the Padres at minus 110 odds, and this was an awful beat. It was truly a terrible, terrible, terrible beat, and the reason being is because Giants got off to a red hot start. A red hot start. They started off the game, I think it was 4-0. Yeah, they started off the game 4-0. They were up 4 runs. All they had to do was literally only allow 4 runs or fewer over the next 2.5 innings. Well, in the bottom of the 3rd inning, they gave up 6 runs. The Padres ended up scoring 6 runs, and they really got the bats going. They really started to get some hits, stuff like that, and they just started to build and build and build and build and build. And unfortunately, the Giants could not come back from that. They ended up, I think they had 5 through 5, so it was like 5-6. Just barely lost on that one, but it is what it is. Then we had the Braves team total over 4.5 versus Boston. Definitely not too much of a sweat. I will say that they left a lot of runners on base for a lot of these innings, but over the course of the entire game, it just really looked like they had the most momentum, so it ended up working out for us. So like I said, we ended up going 1-1. So losing a little bit of juice. Hopefully we can bounce back today. Hopefully we can get this 3-0. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and dive into it. Our first play of the day, we're going to be taking the White Sox and the Royals under 8 runs at minus 115 odds. Now, I really like this play for a couple different reasons. First things first, both these teams are kind of right around that 500 mark when it comes to the under. Kansas City is 54, 53, and 4 to the under, so a little bit more profitable than not. And the Sox, they're a little bit more profitable as well, 54, 49, and 7 to the under over the course of the entire season. So nothing too crazy, but I think it's still a good spot to target. But both these teams are much more profitable in the places that they are going to be in today. So Kansas City is obviously going to be at home. They are 30, 26, and 2 to the under. Definitely pretty solid there. And the Sox are 28, 24, and 4 on the road. So another really good spot here. Kansas City, they are also 24th when it comes to runs per game over the course of the entire season. And they actually average 0.25 fewer runs per game at home. So not only are they not necessarily the greatest offense over the course of the entire season, but they do actually average fewer runs at home. So I think it's another really good spot to target. Also, the White Sox, they are 17th when it comes to runs per game. They are 17th when it comes to runs per game, So definitely kind of in that middle tier. I think it's still a pretty good spot to target overall. but they are a pretty good defensive team when it comes to on the road at least. So they are 19th when it comes to runs allowed over the course of the entire season. But look at these splits here real quick. So at home, they allow 5.22 runs per game. Definitely nothing great. But on the road, that number drops all the way down to 3.61 runs allowed on the road this year. So they've been really, really good defensively at home or on the road. So I do think that's a really good spot. In Kansas City, they're a little bit better at home too when it comes to allowing runs. They actually average 0.4 fewer runs per game at home this year. Not a huge advantage, but I'll definitely take every advantage I can get. Now, Zach Greinke's going to be on the mound here for Kansas City. He hasn't been the greatest pitcher. He's definitely been really up and down. He's very erratic, but I think that it is a good spot to target because he has a 4.58 ERA over the course of the season. That drops all the way down to a 2.23 ERA at home. So he's definitely a much better pitcher at home this year than he is on the road. Definitely wouldn't even be touching this if it was on the road. But if you look at Greinke's last 5 home starts, he's allowed 4, 0, 0, 1, and 1 run. So he has been very, very solid over the course of, here recently in his home starts. And Dylan Cease is going to be on the mound for the Sox. Don't really have to say too much about him. He's been great, but just in case you guys do need a little bit more, he does have a 1.98 ERA over the course of the season, 1.54 versus Kansas City so far this year, 1.33 ERA on the road, and a .59 in his last 5 starts. And in those last 5 starts, he's given up 1, 1, 0, 0, and 0 earned runs in his last 5 games. Dude has been absolutely fantastic. I think both these pitchers are going to go probably, I would assume probably late into like the end of the game. I would say probably around 6, 7 innings pitched, something like that. It's going to be right around that mark. So hopefully the bullpens can hold them off. Both bullpens aren't necessarily great, but hopefully it doesn't matter. Hopefully both these teams literally give up 0 through the first 6 or 7. We don't have to worry about it. But that's going to be our first play of the day. White Sox and Royals under 8 runs at -115 odds. Now for our second play of the day, we're going to be taking a NRFI, and it's not necessarily one that you would probably be expecting. We're going to be taking the Cubs and the Reds, no run first inning at -110 odds. Now the Cubs, they do score in 34% of their first innings so far this year. That drops all the way down to 28% on the road. So they definitely don't score nearly as often in the first inning when it comes to on the road. In Cincinnati, they are 23rd when it comes to first inning runs scored over the course of the entire season. So both these teams, the Cubs, they are a pretty good first inning team, but they are worse on the road. So I think it's a good spot to target between the two. In Cincinnati, they're not necessarily the best when it comes to the first inning runs per game. So I think that's a pretty good spot. Also, Cincinnati is 18th when it comes to runs per game over the course of the whole game, not just the first inning, and Chicago is 21st. So both these teams, not necessarily great offenses by any stretch of the imagination. And if you take a look at the Cubs here recently, they have scored 2, 6, This is for the Cubs defense. I'm sorry. My notes were not necessarily the best on this one. But the Cubs, they have been a much better defense here recently. They have only allowed 2, 6, 3, 3, 0, and 1 earned runs over the course of the entire game for their last 6 games. So hopefully they can get it done in the first inning. We just need 3 outs from them. And Drew Smyly is going to be the one to get those outs for Chicago. He does have a 3.97 ERA over the course of the season, but he has actually pitched 4 straight NRFIs. So hopefully he can make that 5 for us. And Nick Lodolo is going to be on the mound here for Cincinnati. Definitely hasn't been great. Has a 4.4 ERA over the course of the season, but he's been really solid at home. He has a 2.87 ERA at home this year, and he has pitched 2 straight NRFIs, so hopefully that one can get it done for us. That is going to be our second play of the day. Cubs and Cincinnati, no run first inning at -110 odds. Now for our third and final play of the day, we're backing the absolute red-hot wagon Orioles money line here, +115 versus Boston Red Sox. Baltimore, they're an above 500 team. They have been really, really solid here ever since the All-Star break, and even a little bit before it. They're 58-52. That is their record over the course of the whole season so far. They're 6 games above 500. Boston, they're 4 games under 500. They are 54-58. So I think that the wrong team is favored here, unfortunately. Baltimore has won 7 of their last 8 games. They are red hot. And Boston, they've lost 6 of their last 7, and they are on a 4-game losing streak currently at the time of recording this video. Also, Baltimore, they are 12th when it comes to runs allowed. They're a very, very solid defense. Boston is 24th, so Boston is definitely not a good defense whatsoever. They are bottom 7 when it comes to runs allowed over the course of the whole entire season. And Dean Kremer is going to be on the mound here for Baltimore. Hasn't been great. He does only have a 3.43 ERA over the course of the season and a 3.46 ERA on the road. So nothing too crazy, but he is going to be going against Josh Winkowski for Boston. He does have a 4.68 ERA over the course of the season, a 6.18 ERA at home, 6.38 in his last 5 games, and a 12.0 ERA versus Baltimore so far this year through only 3 innings. He's been very bad versus Baltimore. He's been bad at home, and he's been bad in his last 5 games. It's a great spot to fade a guy like this, and he also does have 2, 5, and 6 earned runs in his last 3 home starts. So I think that's another great spot to target. So we're going to be riding with it. Not to mention the Orioles, they do have a much better bullpen than the Boston Red Sox too. So hopefully it can end up working out for us. That's going to be our third and final play of the day. Orioles money line versus Boston at plus 115 odds. So that is going to do it for today's video. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you guys do like, comment, subscribe, and turn on that notification bell so you guys know whenever I post. Like I said, we're on the road to 7,000 subscribers, so make sure that you guys are subbed. But that's going to do it for me. This is King Standard signing out. Peace.